I'm Joe Duffy for Picks and Parlays. I'm going to do a preview of Kennesaw State and Florida International. Also going to sprinkle in a pick on this game and the other game, Western Kentucky and Louisiana Tech. But make sure you catch my man, Sean Higgs. He's going to do an even more in-depth preview. Of course, you should be subscribed to the Picks and Parlays YouTube channel, but if you're not, pound that subscribe button now. Now, it should be somewhere below me. Pound on that subscribe button and make sure you get that preview from Sean Higgs. He's one of the best in the business, not only with his premium picks, but does a great job with his previews here on YouTube and some other fantastic handicappers as well. All right, Kennesaw State, about 35 miles from that campus. They're playing at Florida International. The opening line saw Kennesaw State minus 1.5, 48.5. The look-ahead line, first line posted anywhere. FIU is actually the favorite at minus 1.5, 49.5. Currently, the best lines available. Surveyed Odds Logic. You know how much I love Odds Logic. Kennesaw State minus 3, minus 114. Or you can get Florida International at plus 3.5, minus 110. That's why you got to use Odds Logic and make sure you always get the best line. The best totals over 49 minus 110 or under 49.5, also minus 110. You see what I mean? A half a point when you're talking about, betting thousands of games, half a point there, a point, half point here, half point there, a point there, whatever I'm trying to say, it is humongous. Will make a big, big, big difference. The splits on the side, 56% of the tickets and 86% of the cash is on Florida International. Now, the splits on the total, 52% of the bets and 68% of the money is on the over. Now, I wanted to corroborate it with all sources. Florida International, and, corroborate is a big word for me. Not just literally, it's literally and figuratively, because I don't know that many multisyllabic words, but I do use contrarian information as part of my handicapping. But as much as I love Odds Logic, there are some other sources I've been using even before. Odds Logic's relatively new. I'd love to corroborate it with many different sources, offshore, Las Vegas, stateside, and even some outlaw sources. And yes, it does look like just about everywhere that the public is betting on the underdog now. Normally, public dogs die, but keep in mind, this is also consistent with the line move, so I generally will often like to fade line move, so I don't think this is a clear case of fading the public underdog. FIU, they're 4-2 ATS, but minus 1.8 points per game as far as the margin of cover, as some people will call sweat barometer. So it's a different, you would look at their ATS record, you would say they're a good spread team, but in reality, they've been fairly fortunate this year as they actually have a negative margin of cover. Conversely, Kennesaw State, they're 4-2, covering by an average of 8 points per game. So they don't really have equal spread records. They do, literally, but Kennesaw State has been covering much more impressively this year. Kennesaw State is, in fact, the number 7 under team in the nation, going under 5-1 by an average of 8.2 points per game. They've been going under by an average of more than 8 points per game. FIU has been a pretty big under team. They've gone under 3-2-1, but they're going under by an average of 8.2 points per game. I'm sorry. Florida International is going under by an average of 4.8 points per game. Now, this is somewhat of a surprise. Often when you have two big under teams, there's more over angles, and then vice versa. If you have two big over teams, it's generally an under. But here, when you have teams that have gone under by a cumulative 13 points per game or more in Game 7 or less, it actually is still 147 and 119 towards the under. In fact, 127, 99, and 8 since 2009. But I will say, smaller sample size, but over 5-2 this year. So again, normally, and especially with NBA here, when you have two big under teams, it usually goes over. And we'll talk more about the NBA in a moment, because I know Picks and Parlays is a bunch of special. But like in the NBA, if you have two under teams, it'll usually go over. Two over teams, it'll go under. But professional sports is more of regression to the mean. Sportsline does have Kennesaw State winning this game 23-21, but going under 62% of the simulations. Conversely, Massey Ratings actually has Florida International winning 26-21. So this is a fairly big bet based on the Massey metrics, which goes back a long time. Now, though Kennesaw State, they are 4-0 straight up at home, but they're playing on the road where they're 0-2 straight up. And yet they're favored to a team that's actually 2-1 straight up at home. So what does that mean? Probably not what you think it does. Again, anti-splits. Conference away favorites, winless on the road versus a team that's at least 500 at home, 182, 134, and 6, as long as they aren't laying at least 11 points. So again, that favors Kennesaw State. And NBA over the years has been a great anti-splits angle when you have a team that is a road favorite, despite the fact the road record is inferior to the home team's home record. You actually usually go with the road team, where most people would say, no, go with the home team. That's false. So make sure you lock in long-term. The 7 and 30-day pick packs are up for the NBA at Picks and Parlay. Of course, you should lock in to my all sports package. But look, one thing I've learned almost 40 years in this business, there's some people out there, they don't like to bet college basketball, but they love to bet NBA, and vice versa. We've got those options at Picks and Parlays, and yes, we do have some NBA packages up right now. Go to Picks and Parlays, lock in the Joe Duffy's NBA package. You should be getting my college football picks, though, too, as well. Road teams that allowed 19 or fewer points the last game and less than 23 first downs are 13-19, 109, 4, and 45. Mix in some rest and other factors, it ups it to 151.11 units, and that would favor Kennesaw State. Now, FIU is off a 25-6 win as a 10-point underdog to Western Kentucky, but fading teams off of a win as an underdog of at least 7, when they were an underdog of at least 7 in that game, in which they covered by at least 22 or more, as long as the team we're betting on isn't road underdogs. That's 252, 209, and 11. So that would be Kennesaw. What we're basically saying is Florida International is in a big letdown situation, historically, college football teams. And in fact, the winning percentage doesn't change that much when we're fading a home underdog. So again, a lot of stuff here. All favors Kennesaw State. That's my official free winner. Well, as I said, the fantastic Sean Higgs is going to be doing a more in-depth preview of this Western Kentucky-Louisiana Tech game, which Louisiana Tech is minus 3.5 and 50. But let me give you a nice pick on this. Fade home favorites off a game in which they scored 9 or less points is 324, 221, and 17. That would favor Western Kentucky. Road underdogs of 3.5 or less with a total of 46 or more in a battle of 2 unranked teams are 580, 439, and 24. Yeah, in college football, small road underdogs generally do pretty well. And it's actually 58.2% in game 9 or less. Fading home favorites of less than 5 with a winning record is 10, 17, 8, 34, and 44. All this favors Western Kentucky. So again, I'm also going to go with Western Kentucky as a free winner. College basketball starts November the 3rd. We got great angles there. We got, you know what? Those of you go back to the score phones, okay? Remember Kurt Thomas? He was called the NBA specialist. Kurt actually retired of all things. He's now a minister, which now he's retired as a minister. But I use the same database as he did. So if you're a big fan of Kurt Thomas during the NBA days, we've been using the same database. These are essentially the plays that we used to have overlapping plays when we were on the score phones together. And again, I've got the best NBA database on earth. So make sure you lock in the Joe Duffy's picks at Picks and Parlays in the NBA. Should lock in on every single sport. Pretty certain for the opening night of the NBA. One of the sides, I get several metrics. I'll finalize my plays by the morning at the latest, but should have an NBA winner on opening night of the NBA. And both of these college football plays I'm strongly considering. For premium plays, we'll see if any of them go over my threshold, and they're a premium as well. But make sure you stay tuned. More great videos from the Picks and Parlays family.